Hey, good evening everybody. The moisture is starting to surge back north into Texas, so we're getting once again into that typical June pattern there. Welcome to Meteorology Lab. This is how it looked today. It looked not quite as cool as last night. You saw those outflowish storms. That was taken after the webcast was over, and I saw the red orange skies out there, and I decided to send the drone up one more time. Okay, taking a look at the U.S. right now. Iowa and Midwest under a heat advisory, and you can see that on the map here. If you go way out to the right side right there, you can see 90 over 76, 87 over 78. These are some very high dew points, and they've got a heat advisory there. Heat indexes are running about 100 to 105 today. Also, New York, New England, they're going to get some of the heat over the next couple of days. They're forecasting 95 for Albany on Monday, 96 in Boston, 96 in New York City, and 97 at Hartford, Connecticut, 96 in D.C. This is all on Monday. Portland looking for temperatures to rise from 70 today to 80 tomorrow, and then 90 for Sunday. Texas and Louisiana, we're going to be seeing that increase in moisture over the week into the start of next week. And Arizona getting a break from the drought, and we can take a look at that on the satellite. Let me switch over to that real quick. Yeah, there's the remnants of bud there coming into southern Arizona. Let me get that situated. And bud started out way down in the southern part of Baja California. The moisture is basically just surging north into Arizona, in New Mexico very quickly, being lifted northward by those westerlies. Arizona has been under the influence of, well, they've been seeing the start of the monsoon this year. June 15th being the start there. They have had kind of a deficit in rain with the previous monsoons. Very bad drought in that area, so we're hoping for the precip to really pick up this year. And the forecast from the Climate Prediction Center, looking for above normal precip for Arizona this summer. So anything like that will definitely be good. There's that overcast, a very dense overcast, and you can see what it looked like earlier today. Beneath that, you can see some convective elements right there in the San Simon and Douglas area globe in Safford. And those elements are moving this way, but if we animate that, you can see the higher cirrus moving to the northeast. And there it goes. Probably a little fast. Let me run that one more time. So they're already getting monsoon storms in that area, and we've got the remnants of bud coming northward. Okay, elsewhere around the country, let's start pulling things together here. Let's start out with the isobars and thickness. Let me check my levels here. Make sure everything is looking good on the soundboard. Okay, very good. I did some microphone checks before we went on the air, and I'm sure it sounds a lot better than it did yesterday. I heard that static going on, and I couldn't figure out the cause of that really, but I reset a few things, and it seemed to have gone away. The Midwest today underneath a stagnant weather pattern there. The dominant feature is this high-pressure area in New York, and that's an old, modified polar high that's become stagnant, and we've also got the tip of this Bermuda high extending into the southeast. So the entire eastern U.S. under very weak flow, light and variable winds in that area. Where we have the big weather changes is out west, right in this area. You can see the thickness gradient up in the Dakotas and Montana, Wyoming. So So there's our frontal boundary right there, and looks like that trails off into a cold front through the Salt Lake City, Ely, Reno, and Redding area right there. So cold air up in the Pacific Northwest. That's obviously going to change here very quickly as we go into the weekend, and then we've got the remnants of Bud right down in Arizona. We can look at it on the College DuPage Rapid Refresh Mesoanalysis products. 300 millibar flow showing the upper troposphere. You can see the very strong southwest winds, and that's helping to rapidly lift the remnants northward into the Four Corners area. The polar front jet still way up to the north. There it is up there in Oregon, Montana, and then across the Great Lakes. And then down in Texas we've got the ridge, and that's being broken up, chiseled away by this low in the Gulf. Let me pull this north, or yeah, north up, same thing. There's that low out there in the Gulf, low out in the western U.S., and right between we've got that ridge right there across Texas into Oklahoma. For looking at the remnants of the hurricane Bud there, relative humidity is a good one. This is 700 millibar, basically 10,000 feet relative humidity. And we can see all the moisture there south of Arizona. So that's about to march into Arizona and New Mexico overnight. So we should see a rainy picture for tomorrow. Places like Albuquerque, El Paso, Tucson, and Winslow. There's the circulation at this time right there, roughly in the southern Gulf. And let's see if we have an animation on here. Let's see, Friday. Yeah, okay, these are previous. We don't have a forecast. These are basically analysis charts. And let me pull up one more. 850 millibar analysis. That should show the moisture field really good there in the low levels. And we can see that we still got about a 40-knot circulation in northwest Mexico. Texas picking up the moisture. There it is coming on shore. And we'll look at the rest of that with the forecast products momentarily. Back to our familiar chart sequence. There's 250 millibars up at about 34,000 feet. There's that polar front jet there. And then we'll go to our 850 chart. This shows the actual dew point values, and they're running in the low to mid 50s across much of Texas and Oklahoma. Okay, this is probably a good time to go into chat. We're going to animate this for you. $250 milliseconds, that's about a good value. Alright, so starting out, you can see some thunderstorm activity there in Illinois, west of Chicago up to the Madison area. So that's laid down a few boundaries, and it's possible a couple of those boundaries might have fed up into that cell there near La Crosse. So kind of active up in that part of the country. And then, of course, the usual orographic storms there in Colorado. And then up in the Montana-Idaho area, you can see a bit of a comet cloud early on. That's that baroclinic circulation there moving through the high plains. Okay, yeah, we'll do a check of the audio here, make sure it sounds good. Checking out on chat here. David Lumbert, 91 over 71 there in Little Rock. Thunderstorm warning and a 2.5 magnitude earthquake. 2.5, that's going to be probably below the threshold level of being able to feel that. Carl Burkhoff reporting 3 inches of rain, 3/4 inch hail there in Wisconsin. Electric Dog, hoping I reset the audio, and yeah, definitely did. 83 over 63 there in northern Illinois. Ron Chalfont is with us, and Ryan Toomey's, Willie Greenway out there in Georgia. Ryan Toomey's reporting severe thunderstorms rocking South Florida today. High winds, hail, and funnel clouds. Storm Spotter Apex asking for an analysis about the high building over the east. We'll cover a little bit of that there. David Moore joining us, Mr. Manlet, reporting 80 degrees in Macomb, Michigan, north of Detroit. Waterspouts off of Broward County, southern Florida there. And thanks for the comments, Willie Greenway, about the drone. Tropical moisture just east of Ron-Chalfant, Erica Baker, 88 over 70. And appreciate the comments, Cthulhu, Ron-Chalfant, Carl, Electric Dog, and I'm just going to have to go very quickly through the remainder of this. Michelle Curlin joining us, and Carl Berghoff pointing out pivotalweather.com and College DuPage. Okay, let's go ahead and head into the remainder of the analysis. And we'll start out with some skew-ts here. So there's Fort Worth this evening, and we can see the moisture is a bit on the weak side there. And as we get into this very moist weather pattern, we're going to keep track of the exact mixing ratios. And the mixing ratio, that's these purple lines here. And they're kind of analogous to dew point, but they're better for tracking moisture on a skew-t because they're not sensitive. The moisture quantity does not change with mixing ratio like it does with dew point. With dew point, there is kind of a slight change depending on what pressure level you're at. So there's the moisture line right there at Dallas, and it looks like an average mixing ratio line is going to be about right there. So we read the values. There's 10, there's 16, and that's going to put us at about 12 grams per kilogram. So what does that compute to with the LCL? Pretty high up there. Looks like about 8,000 feet, and then we lift that on further. There's hardly any cape, and there's some capping. So no wonder Dallas is not getting much thunderstorm activity. Now, there were some showers in East Texas and Southeast Texas, and that's because this part of the sounding right here is a little further over to the right. And we're going to see more of that over the next day. As the moisture comes up, we're going to see that moisten up. And all we need, say with low to mid 60s dew points, we'll pretend the line is like that. We do our lifted parcel, and that definitely clears the cap and gives us about maybe 1,000 cape there. So the moisture, that's really what's critical, and that's why some parts of Texas are getting showers and others are not. Okay, up north, let's take a look at the Lincoln sounding. That's going to be just southwest of Chicago. And definitely plenty of moisture. And look at that. If we take the lower 100 millibars, that's going to be about right there for the moisture. So we read that, and that's about 16 grams per kilogram. So lots of rich moisture. A lot of that is evapotranspiration and evaporation from the crop fields. All the irrigation, hundreds and thousands of square miles of that adding to the moisture. So we can definitely get some good cape with that. And it does help that the mid and upper troposphere is a little bit cooler than it is in Dallas. And that's because Illinois doesn't have that ridging, whereas Texas does. So as a reminder, this helps you visualize the ridging right there. There's Texas underneath that ridge, and up in Illinois, they're kind of in between. And where it really counts is at 700 millibars. So this is the 700 millibar chart. And we can see values of 8 to 10 Celsius there, also about 7 to 8 there at Illinois. But as we get up to 500, Conditions are cooler. Look at that, minus 10 to minus 11 in Illinois compared to 6 to 7 below in Dallas. So that's what has actually given us better CAPE, the cool temperatures there in Illinois. So as a result, that part of the sounding pushes over to the left a little bit. Okay, elsewhere, let's try Boise, Idaho. And we know that they're going to be slightly north of that front. There's that surface chart, and you can see that front there. We went over the location from Wyoming to Salt Lake City to Ely, Reno, and they've got kind of a cool pattern there at Boise. Still kind of an inverted V there. Very dry conditions. And a little bit of warm air aloft helping to suppress any shower activity in that region. Okay, then we'll take a look at the other satellite that I've got lined up here. Southeast U.S. getting the usual thunderstorm activity, all the way from Florida up to southwestern Georgia, central Alabama, out to the Shreveport and Baton Rouge area. So this is kind of a cluster of showers that was in the Florida Panhandle overnight, and you can see that little boundary right there. That's helping to generate even more showers today. And then up north, where there's ample moisture, quite a few cells going up in Arkansas, western Tennessee, and northern Mississippi. And then up in the northeast U.S., northerly flow, and this has kind of been the case all winter and spring. Very persistent northerly flow pattern there with that Hudson Bay vortex. I think that pattern is kind of broken down, and what we see here is kind of the air mass trailing a cold front into the New England area, and I think that front is going to be somewhere off to the south out in this area here. Yeah, there it is right there. And the Carolinas picking up that northerly flow with the front just to the south. So, we head into the forecast. All right, starting out with Texas, not much going on. Southerly flow coming up off the Gulf there. And then off the corner, there's the remains of Bud. We're going to take a look at that on a separate chart. But it looks pretty quiet for Texas. That moisture is going to start coming in from the south starting around late Saturday or Sunday. For now, just the usual sea breeze activity in the southeastern half of Texas. Out in Arizona, well, up north we've got what looks like a baroclinic low there around the Austin, Nevada area. So it looks like we have a cold front right in that area. This is kind of the layout of all the fronts. And then down to the south, way off the south part of the chart, the remnants of Bud coming in. And this is what things look like overnight. A couple of clusters moving through Tucson and out around the Safford area. And then it looks like some heavier showers coming into Deming, Lordsburg, and El Paso tomorrow morning. So the remnants of Bud clearing out very quickly, and the amount of precip with Bud is really not that high. I've seen hurricanes coming inland through this area with much higher precipitable water. So this is going to quickly dash the area and then probably be gone maybe around Sunday or Monday. 200 millibars, let's check that out. You can see that ridging there in Texas. Keeping things kind of warm over the next couple days. And as we go into the weekend, that ridge really trying to hang on there. There's the center of that high, subtropical high right there. And then the next change in Texas will be coming from the south right around there. Pretty good trough there in the western U.S. region. So that'll keep things a little bit active there in California and Nevada. And we'll take a look at the NAM for the predictions this weekend. You can see Bud right there. And let's track the movement. There it goes up into southern New Mexico, El Paso. This is around 9 a.m. tomorrow. And then the remnants move up into Colorado during the day. So that'll affect probably the southern half of the state, maybe Santa Fe and Albuquerque also. And then the remnants will be carried up into the Dakotas on Sunday. And then down in Texas, you can see what looks like that disturbed area out around Brownsville. Good plume of moisture coming north right there. And that comes into Texas during the day. And even more moisture surging northward for Monday. And we can really see that on the precipitable water. Let me pull up that panel. Alright, there's the GFS precipitable water, and you can see how much initially there is with Bud right there. But that rapidly rains out over the mountains, and then by Sunday, there's the bulk of it right there. And much more significant moisture off the Texas coast, and we'll watch that come inland. See that right there? These are over 2-inch amounts surging northward on Monday. So we're going to see a pretty significant change there in Texas Monday and Tuesday. And then that moisture should find its way up to the frontal systems up in Kansas and Nebraska. So it looks pretty rainy for the south central U.S. and the western Midwest region. So we'll put that together with the GFS for Saturday and Sunday. Rainy out in the southern Rockies, obviously. Should be another day of quiet weather for Texas, but we will be under that southerly flow. MCS is up north with that frontal system up in that area there. And you can see that front right there being driven by this 1018 millibar high. So that's a big cold air mass covering this entire area. And let's see what happens as we get into Monday. Quasi-stationary front across Kansas and Iowa, so it looks like more MCSs in that area. The moisture in Texas moving on in, so we'll become kind of showery there. And let's see, next big change. Should be kind of stagnant through the week. This is on Friday. You can see there's kind of a frontal system about like that, so more rain for Iowa and Missouri and Kansas. And I don't think we have any changes coming up until about Tuesday, the 26th, with another outbreak of cold air coming in from the northwest. But you can see Texas and the Louisiana, Mississippi area continued under that southerly flow. Pretty typical for June. And that's probably about it. Okay, let me take a look at chat here, and hamburger buns shortage in Texas. Huh. New viewers. Yep, we're up to 27 there. 2.5 magnitude earthquake will cause one to fumble his key and hitting the door lock. That's true. And I think we're about done there. So anyway, we'll probably be back Sunday. Until then, hope you all have a good evening. Take care and have a good one. Bye-bye.